Well, all right, CMI family, it is time for us to start our June training event. And you know what? I'm serious. It really does make my day to look around and see all your smiling faces. And you know what? The thing that I love the most is that I know firsthand that behind each one of those smiling faces is a passion and a drive to impact marriages in your communities. And it's just so much fun to be on mission with all of you guys. And today is part 3 in our series on supporting church marriage ministries. And our focus today is on supporting church-based marriage events. And we have some really great speakers today that I can't wait for you guys to meet. Nora Rodriguez is going to share on how to support church marriage events, and Dionna Sanchez will discuss promoting church events, and then Kellie and Brett Hurst will share an amazing event that they facilitate called Dinner and a Marriage. And I do want to say to be on the lookout for our follow-up email this next week, because we have some really great resources that we're going to be sending out. The Maryland Marriage Initiative team has graciously shared their timeline for event planning with all of us. And I know that that's going to be a really great resource. And then also I'll be sharing all the slide decks from today's presentations in that email. And today's session is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And I'll include the link to that as well in our follow-up email. And we do have a dedicated Q&A session that is planned for the end of today's call, so that you can ask any of our speakers questions at the end of our time together today. So we do ask that you hold all your questions for that Q&A session. And today we're going to begin with prayer, and we have Cheryl Belden of the Fresno Healthy Marriage Coalition. She's going to lead us in prayer today. So Cheryl, whenever you are ready, ma'am.
All right. Heavenly Father, we just praise you today because you're such a loving and faithful God, full of mercy and grace. You're so worthy of our praise. And we thank you for the privilege of being part of the CMI and the opportunity that you give us to invest in the lives of couples. I pray that you would guide us and give us wisdom to speak the truth to these couples and to bring hope to their marriages. And I pray that you would protect the marriages of these couples in the CMI too, Lord, so they can freely minister to these churches and to these pastors and to these couples. Lord, I pray over our time together today. I pray for the speakers that you would just calm any of their nerves and help them speak from their hearts, and that we would just reap the wisdom of their experience, and we would be able to apply that to our ministry. It's all for your glory, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much for praying, Cheryl. I appreciate you. And before we begin with today's speakers, we get the honor of hearing from Dennis Stoika on a few NARMI details and gatherings that are going to be taking place at the NARMI Summit. So Dennis, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours, sir.
Great, thanks. So, well, let me just actually, could you unspotlight me for a moment, just so I can see the gallery again?
Okay.
Just want to get a sense. If you are going to the NARMI Summit in a couple of days, please raise your right hand and then your left hand and wave it exuberantly, because we're all excited to be there. All right, most of us are going to be there. Most of us. Wow, apparently Jerry Angelo's not going to be there, but he's just frozen in time. Do you see him? We've just got his picture up there, Jerry. That's why. There we go. There we go. So. That's fine. And so I look forward to seeing most of you, and it's going to be fun. And I tell you what, it turns out that I'm going to be doing a plenary on Monday evening, and the title of the plenary, let me just see if I can find it. It's the title of the plenary. I don't have it, but it's something like Communities of Practice Within NARMI. And you go, what does that mean? So it's also known as how to solve the RME field's crisis in funding. So it's going to be about how can we direct ourselves as a movement to position ourselves for funding. And what it's going to be about is actually how do we be focusing our programs on solving some of the world's social problems. such as educational system and child welfare system and those type of things. And that's happening Monday evening. And then Tuesday morning, we'll be moving into a breakout session. But before I go there, I should probably go sequentially here. So the first thing that happens is Sunday between 3 and 5 in the hotel lobby is kind of a meet and greet. If you're there, just come on by and say hello. This is just a chance to stop by and mingle. So that's happening Sunday evening or Sunday from 3 to 5. After that, the event actually starts with a more formal networking event. Then Monday evening at 6 p.m., we'll meet in the hotel lobby and walk together through Bricktown to dinner at Toby Keith's restaurant. And that's going to be treated by the Marriage Initiative. So that's Monday evening. Tuesday morning. So again, Monday, I think I'm probably doing the last plenary right before dinner, and then we'll go right into dinner after that. Then Tuesday morning from 7 to 30 to 8:30, I'm asking that everybody that's associated with the CMIs will all get together from 7:30 to 8:30. And what this will be the launch of this version of the Dennis Stoika Grant Writing Bootcamp. Now, you may be thinking, no, wait a minute, what grant are we applying for? Well, we are applying for the next round of government funding. And that round of government funding has a July 15th deadline. Were you guys aware of that there was a July 15th deadline for federal grants? Yeah, what I didn't mention is that July 15th, 2025. So in about a year from now, the next federal grants. And in order to prepare all of you CMIs, we're starting early. We're starting early. And we're going to take the theme of my keynote and drive that into the grant projects that we're doing. If you remember from grant writing training, there's two things that are important about a successful grant project. The first one is a really spectacular project design. And the second is a well-written application. I say very few have both. So we're going to be starting with that design. And so that's Tuesday morning. Please be there. And then Wednesday morning will be another gathering. And in that gathering, we'll actually have a chance to hear from folks from the relationship enhancement program called Couple Talk, as well as PrEP. Because what we want is actually that everybody that's be writing for a grant will become certified, be trained in both of those programs. I say that now because both of those programs will have booths at the place. So when you show up Sunday and Monday, stop by those booths to kind of get familiar with them, and then they'll be sharing that information with us on Wednesday morning. Again, so highlight, you've got the meet and greet 3 to 5 on Sunday, the dinner Monday at 6 p.m., and then Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8:30, we'll have two separate events. And I'd say really, those first two are optional. I mean, if you want to pay for your own dinner, you don't have to have dinner with us. But if you want a free dinner, you can come to that, but you don't have to. It's optional. But really, those other two things, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, I don't want to say they're mandatory, but they are highly encouraged. So look forward to seeing everybody at NARMI. Back to you, Stephanie.
All right. Well, thank you, Dennis, for that. Thank you for giving us that schedule. It is going to be a great time, and you guys really do not want to miss any of those events if you at all can help it. The first on our agenda today is Nora Rodriguez, and Nora is one of my amazing coworkers, and I know that you're just going to love her. Nora has been married to the love of her life, Carlos, for 51 plus years. And they are just an amazing couple, such great examples. And they have 2 adult sons and 6 Gs. They keep them quite busy and entertained. And Carlos and Nora are co-founders of the Relational Wellness Center, certified life coaches, seminar directors for Prepare Enrich, certified in SYMBIS, certified by Family Dynamics Institute, and they have been serving with the San Antonio Marriage Initiative for around 12 years now. And they currently serve as the church liaisons and ministry directors for SAMI. So we can't wait to hear from you, Nora. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Stephanie. All of that intro, just to let you know, we're the old people on the team, but we're still passionate about marriage, just so you know. I'm so excited to be here today to be sharing with everyone on how to support marriage hosted events. So we'll begin with our slides. There we go. Okay, so First of all, how do we even know where to find the church marriage events? We utilize, and some of you are familiar with this, but we utilize the community events register. And if you don't know what that is, you'll also get more information at next month's training because you'll have more detail. And then, of course, we always start with prayer. You got to pray all the way through from beginning to end, during. Just cover it in prayer. And, you know, 1 Thessalonians 5:17, real short, pray continually. When you're working with the churches, it's definitely essential that you pray continually. Next slide. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the planning. Some of these bullet points are what the church will be doing. Some of them will affect more you as a CMI or the community marriage marriage initiative, sorry. So the church who's hosting the event should have a vision for that event. What is it that they hope to accomplish? They should have an idea of content and speaker. If they don't already have one selected, then we probably wouldn't know about an event because they haven't told us anything. If they're looking for help on that, we would also help them by referring them to our YouTube channel for the up close and personal people that have been interviewed by the Marriage Initiative. So there's so many there. Another opportunity is for some of your local connections, some counselors, lay leaders, pastors, those who you have already begun a relationship with. Those are great speakers to bring in as guest speakers. Be sure that the church develops a compelling call to action. You know what that means, but the church doesn't always think about that. We don't want to have an event just to have an event. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, they're energetic. Yeah, we have a great time together. But what happens after that is important. So any event that they hold should have a next step, if you will. And then, of course, you need a team for this event. You need to develop them, you need to recruit them, and you need to train them. Don't try to do it. Be sure that the church person, if it's only one person you're talking to, is not trying to do it all on their own. They need that team. They should also solicit financial support for the event. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide, but we're not there yet. Encourage a minimum financial investment per couple. Again, more on that later. Clearly establish who owns this event. Sometimes it seems obvious to us. The church owns it. They're hosting it. But especially those who have not done very many events or are just getting started, they may be real quick to pass the baton back to you. And you need to lovingly, patiently guide them that no, they own this event. You're here to provide support and encouragement in whatever way you can. Okay, and then signage. If you're going to need any signage for people to be able to find the room that this particular event will be in, start working on it immediately. You may also have to have some of your team members out in the parking lot if it's a large church to direct them to the right building. And then if you have the opportunity to get to know a church and their events ahead of time, go ahead and register for one of their events yourself. Go, attend, introduce yourself, get to know them, and that will help you determine what the future may look like with you coming alongside them for future marriage events. Next slide, please. Okay, budget. The budget is on the church, okay? But I will tell you that the majority of churches do not have a line item budget for marriage, much less a marriage event. So, you know, they're going to have to be real cognizant of the fact that there might not be any money designated for this. How are you going to get it? So you might have to look for some financial support, like donors. Those could be people inside the four walls of the church, as well as external. And then corporate sponsors, the local hotels and local restaurants. Some of those people might be willing to work with you and provide a couple of nights stay or a dinner for two as a prize for the event. Also, that gets their name out there in front of a lot of people. You need to establish or let them establish a cost per couple. If they don't know where to start, I would say anywhere between $10 to $25 at the minimum per couple. And the reason, we've got some churches here in San Antonio who just like to give it away for free because they can. Yet when the day of the event comes, the numbers that were registered to attend are not as high. I mean, they were a lot higher than those who actually show up. That's because there was no skin in the game for those couples. They didn't have anything to lose. There was no investment. So it's very, very important that they understand that that's important to keep people to a commitment. And then, of course, as far as you as a local CMI, what is your investment? It may not be in the way of dollars, but sharing the event and promoting it through your connections, through your distribution list, that is huge for them. And you'd be surprised sometimes that's the only thing they want us to do because they've got everything else handled. But it's not always about supporting them financially. And then you want the church to develop a marketing budget. Again, they may not have anything line item for marriage, so they're not going to have any marketing budget for marriage as well. But this could be something as simple as who's going to run their social media to promote this? Who's going to do the flyers? Are you going to have a save the date? Let's go to the next slide for just a moment. Save the date. There's graphics that have to be created. A QR code is ideal. And then flyers, if they're going to distribute them in their church or post them at local businesses or whatever. From the very beginning, you need to impress upon the church that you need at least 6 weeks out from the event to start promoting an event. Yes, people wait till the last minute, but if you can get them to save the date on their calendar, you've gotten a little bit closer to being great, having great success. And then you want to be thinking about your volunteer team assignments, those that you recruited. Ideally, if they can serve in their area of passion, they're going to just do phenomenal. For example, if someone is so creative and loves decorating or somebody else loves doing games or things like that, let those people do it because they're going to pour their all into it. But be sure everyone on the team knows what their assignment is. And then on the event registration, they need to be sure they include the date and the title of the event, the time, the location, and the cost per couple. I know you'll hear more from Dionna in a moment. We don't want to get the promotional piece too wordy or too busy. So you may have to have additional information somewhere else with a link or a phone number for people to contact, for them to know maybe is there childcare available and any other thing that you might want to add. So those are the things that you want to be thinking about well ahead of time. You also, as the CMI, want to have the registrations communicated to you weekly, especially since you're going to help, if you help promote it through your own social media or through your newsletters, however you choose to do it. It's good to know where were they when we started promoting it and weekly. And they're not going to think about calling you. You're going to be far from their mind. So you're going to need to stay in touch. You take the initiative. And of course, for the event, you're going to need to determine audiovisual needs. Also, what type of music do you want to have for different portions of the event? Music in the background, whether there's games or whether there's table discussion or couple-to-couple discussion, is so critical, and it really fills the void and it helps camouflage what those conversations that maybe are more held closer to the vest between couples. So music is going to be very, very important for that. Next slide, please. More logistics. If you're going to provide an additional language interpretation, such as here in San Antonio, Spanish is often required or requested, but not all churches have it available. You may have a different language available that someone would be doing at their church. Are they going to provide food or snacks? That has to be planned for. Will there be decorations? We encourage something. Will there be giveaways? Again, those are the things you can solicit from the local businesses. If you can put together goodie bags for couples, sometimes something real small, but something that's heartfelt that they'll appreciate as a couple. And then, of course, you need setup for the event, people to help you get it set up, and also to tear down and clean up after the event. Next slide, please. Okay, the actual event day. If at all possible, as the CMI, have a presence. If they don't invite you in the planning stages, ask if you can have a table there. And this is really more to create awareness about your marriage initiative. Take pictures and share with their permission on your social media if possible. And then let's talk a little bit about the value of a display table. Many of you probably already have some of these things, so I may be preaching to the choir, but you want to have a tablecloth, if you will, that has your name across the front to create awareness. Banners, if you can order a banner to have, that would be ideal. We didn't start with all of this, believe me. We started small. And in fact, on our table, we didn't have a whole lot in the way of giveaways. We had our own brochure, our own business cards, and then we would have some brochures and business cards from some of the local ministries or counselors that we had already begun to build relationships with, that we trusted, that we had already vetted. So it doesn't have to be fancy, just simply being there is going to be critical. And then again, the church should consider the higher value giveaways, the drawings, for drawings or during the games. If you have a newsletter already, you want to take advantage of this opportunity to get new signups. You can have a QR code on a display at your own table if they let you have a table. We've even done this, provided the QR code to the host church, where they put it up on the screen, on the monitors at key portions of the evening, or the day, whatever time the event is going to be. This is easy because people can hold up their phone and log in right then and sign up. We've also had a manual form that they can fill out manually if they choose to at our table. The key there is, before they leave the table, be sure you can read what they've written, and don't make them feel bad. Just say, okay, I want to be sure I've got this right, and read it to them. And if there's any corrections, they'll be sure to let you know. We've found many times when we fail to do that, we can't read the email or we can't read the information. So that's just a hint for you. And then be sure again that church is providing a call to action for the attendees. Okay, next slide. After the event follow-up, this is probably the weakest link of it all. You need to have developed and schedule a healthy debrief with the host church. And during that debrief, you want to celebrate with them. You want to encourage them for the investment in marriages that they've made. And you also want to give them a report of any observations you saw. I know when we do an AIM workshop, we've got an actual report that we provide to the host church. So that is always very welcome. You want to ask them about that call to action, their next step response. Did they get a lot of response that day of the event? Has this next step happened already? If not, is there something you can do to help support them to get more of a response? You always want to ask them for feedback on you, on how you can serve better going forward. What went well? What is a growth opportunity for you as coming along as support? Whatever you can. Remember, we like to serve with generosity, okay? And then surprise the host with a gift if you can. If you don't have the funds to provide a gift, then a small gesture of some home-baked cookies or something is always, always welcome. And have those delivered to the church or take them yourself. Always, always, always send a thank you card for not only for their investment in marriages, but for allowing you to be a part of all of it. And then after that, you want to maintain communication through at least quarterly touches, whether it's email, text, calls, or even meeting over coffee or lunch. Those are very, very important. And then next slide, please. Practice your P's. Again, I'll say pray before, during, and after. Stay poised, be practical, be patient, be present, persevere, and be ready to pivot. And I will just end with this from Philemon 4-5. And this is who I think of when I think of you as the CMIs in partnership in this ministry. I always thank my God as I remember you in my prayers, because I hear about your love for all his holy people and your faith in the Lord Jesus. And then we'll skip down to 7b, because you have refreshed the hearts of the Lord's people. That's what you're doing. You're refreshing. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing today, Nora. That was just wonderful. And thank you for that beautiful scripture and encouragement. That was so great. You brought a lot of value to our training event today. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this for us. And I do want to say that Nora mentioned the church slide that we use to give to churches that has the QR code for the SAMI newsletter that people can scan and that just sign up right there. And we have created, our team has created a template of that in Canva that I'm also going to be sharing with you in the follow-up email. And so that Canva template, you can update that and customize it for your CMI and utilize that slide with your churches in your community, and the QR code will take them to the sign up for your newsletter. So I can't wait to share that with you guys. That's going to be a real blessing. And next we have another one of my amazing coworkers, Dionna Sanchez. And Dionna has served with Marriage Initiative in social media, branding, languaging, reputation management, and communications for over 10 years now. And Dionna also leads our efforts for National Marriage Week. And Dionna will have been married to Alicio for 30 years come this August. And they are such an amazing and fun couple to know and work with. So I know you're going to enjoy this today. And Dionna has pre-recorded her segment, but she is live on the call today. So she will be able to answer any questions that you may have during the Q&A segment today. So we're ready to hear from Dionna.
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are all doing really great today. I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes about promoting your local church events, which I feel is one of the most valuable relationship building tools that you can use. So as we know, our relationships are so important as we build trust and nurture value with our churches and the leaders we work with. You want to share and promote marriage events at your local churches. One, so that people see your initiative doing something. So churches see what kind of support you can offer them and that you can give them value. Your goal is to get couples to the marriage classes, conferences, and events in your area, because that is our end goal, right? We want them to get it, that there's so much that we have to offer them. And then as you support your churches, they're going to become really strong marriage champions for you. And so this is a really big piece of that. So if you start as early as possible, it's really beneficial to you and the church. The bigger the event, the more time you're going to need to draw in attendance, especially if it's not a well-known speaker. And so that's a really important piece that I could tell you is to really encourage them to let you know and communicate with you as early as possible about the event that they're going to have. Work with the church on getting the correct details in place. Make sure they don't have any internal languaging that those who don't know the church wouldn't know. Date, time, everything needs to be correct on their website, speaker information, and a personalized video if it's possible. A lot of speakers are willing to do this and speak directly to your church or your community. And it's great for your community to get a glimpse of their personality and the topic that they're going to speak into. Then once they have registration up and running, ask your church, will they need on-site support? Are they going to need your team members to be on site and maybe have a table or serve lunch or greet at the door? Or do they just need you to help promote the event? For Facebook ads, they ideally run on a 2 to 3 week cycle before the audience can get tired of your ad. So you can run an ad, take a break, and then run an ad again. And this is why the further out you know about the event is great, because then you can have time to run a couple of ads. If you don't have as much leeway time, you can only run one ad. So there's several types of ways to promote an event for your church. You can promote via your Facebook page, which is why it's so critical that you have cultivated and developed an audience all year long. Because if there's nobody following your page, then there is nobody there to see that the event is going on. And so you really want to have been cultivating that. And then Facebook ads, this is one of our strongest ways that we promote our local events. We put money behind a paid ad to get new and additional eyes on the event. And so you're not only getting new and additional eyes on the event for the church, you're getting new and additional eyes on your initiative. And then your newsletter, if you have one, perfect place to promote this event. Your website, if it's normal that you promote events on your website, and any other social channels you have, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. On Instagram, I don't recommend promoting the event in your feed as much as I do in your stories. Excuse me. In your feed, it's less intuitive for people to click over on a URL, whereas on your stories, there is a sticker that you can put a URL in, and people can click over directly from that. You can also encourage your church to do in-house promotions, which we really strongly encourage them to do. And so that would be in their own newsletter if they have one, in person on the pulpit, in a bulletin, or on a screen if they have a screen and announcements up on the screen. So there's some basics of a landing page that are really important to running a successful campaign. Location is really important information. Where do people go? Times of the event, and not just starting time, but maybe how long the event will be. And the topic. You know, what's going to be addressed? Is this a serious topic or a fun topic like a date night? That's really important to a couple to decide whether or not they want to show up. And then a picture of the speaker. A lot of people aren't going to know who this is. And so even if you think it's someone well-known, you'd be surprised how many people don't know these authors and speakers. So a picture with their credentials, you know, have they written a book? Why should I listen to this person on marriage? And then a video, a personalized video of them if it's possible. And then placement on the landing page is really critical. Normally it will be the church having it on their website. Sometimes we can run an Eventbrite and have information on there. But if the church is doing it, encourage them to have their own landing page if possible. We've made a mock-up one that was not the best idea of a landing page that we had an experience with a church on. And so if you can see the URL, and I think this will be sent to you afterwards, but you can look that up and see how somebody would have to scroll to find the marriage event. And then you have to click over on the marriage event and then register from the marriage event. And that's just way too many clicks. We want people to be able to go to directly from an ad or a share on social directly to that event and register right there. The rule of thumb is 1 to 2 clicks if possible. So work with your church on that if they can do that. Here's just a mock-up of a visual of a landing page that we had created. This was a Brad Wilcox event, and you can see how we have the title there very clearly with date and times, location we included a little map actually, so people knew what side of town it was in if they were coming from out of town. And then we had a picture of Brad, and this was cut off, but you can see that we would have a lot of languaging there as far as very clearly what the event's about with the registration button. So when you're looking at your church ads for Facebook, there's a few things you want to take a look at. And so first of all, you want to start paying attention to your stats. You want to troubleshoot with your stats. If you're getting 100 clicks on your ad and your church is telling you they've only got 5 registrations, it's really important to see where the breakdown might be. Is it in your languaging? Is it in the registration page? Is it hard to find? Look at all those things to see what might be going wrong. On this ad, you can see a few things, and this is a fake ad based on a real one we had done. There's no speaker information on the graphic. And so we would have to put below here the speaker's name, which is really important to people to know who it is, who's going to be speaking. They opted to use a stock photo instead of a photo of the speaker, which could have been really valuable. And then they used internal languaging, a worship center with their abbreviations. And a lot of people, this was a weekend event. They would have been coming 2-3 hours away. They have no idea this church's abbreviations or where this worship center is. And so this was made for their church, and that's fine. But then they could have created a second one, and that was for the public community. And then there was no description of what the event was about. It does have a title in marriage conference, but again, what's the marriage conference about? So we had to focus on general languaging in our content that said like improving and growing the marriage, which is really broad, and it still might draw people in if that's all you have. But if we could have gotten more specific, it might have been more advantageous and drawn more people into their event. Breaking down the ad even further, this is another mock-up of a real ad that we did. So this ad, again, does not mention a speaker anywhere. And this event happened to have a pretty well-known speaker, and it would have been advantageous to have spotlighted that. And again, we would have had to put that in the language. No photo of the speaker. It has a QR code, which QR codes are great, but they're more great for print materials offline. If somebody's scrolling on their phone, which a great many people do and are on mobile, there's no way they can take a picture of this QR code. And in an ad, all you have to do is click on the graphic to go over. So I recommend a URL, clickable. If you're doing it on your socials pages or in an ad, you just click on the thing. The QR code is not needed. And then what's the event about? Very general marriage retreat. What's the marriage retreat? Is it serious, or is it for couples in crisis? Is it topical? And then, we only get a few lines to express what the event's about. You want that to be really clear and concise. Let people see it. If they're really interested, they will click on the see more to have all the further information, but you want as much as you can have right here to draw them in, just in case they don't click on more. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the social element, because that is what social media is all about, and it is what builds your relationships. So when you're promoting a church's event, you do want to be social. You want engagement. And people are going to be asking questions. They're going to be asking about parking at times. They're going to be asking, is there childcare? Is there Spanish translation? And you need to know the answers to these so that you can respond to them. You can also tag your church and have them available to answer those questions, which is better coming from the church. But a lot of times the churches are too busy, or the people just don't see it and they aren't responding. In that case, you can respond on their behalf. Engagement in general is really, really important to grow trust with your community and to build those relationships. So encourage them. A lot of times couples will tag other couples to do a date night with them and say, do you want a double date? Or wives will tag their husbands and ask them to take them out. This happens a lot. You can respond to them. Thank you for sharing. Hope to see you there. I've even said, my name's Dionna. Come up and introduce yourself to me. I'd love to meet you. And that has happened. And it's really great to build relationships that way. So really respond. And then growth. When you share events for your churches, it is one of the strongest ways that you can grow your community and your online audience. And so I've done a little mock-up here. These are fake names, but when you put it either on your page or an ad, you always see the likes and the loves, and you can click on those whether it is on your page or in an ad. And this will drop down and you will see these names of people, and you can invite them to follow your page. And that is how you grow. And that is how people follow you long term. And so that's a really critical way to grow your audience. So don't forget about it. So that's pretty much the basics of doing and promoting your local church events. I really think that communication is key between you and your church so you can help them better. I've told my team to tell them, help us help you. And that's really what it is. Just communication, having the basics down, and utilizing all the information that you have available. Be clear and concise to your community to get those people in and to build long-term loyal fans. So I'm happy to answer any further questions, and I really hope you guys can utilize this easy way to build relationships with your churches.
All right. Thank you, Dionna, for your presentation today. That was so helpful for so many of us, I know. And up next, we have the privilege of hearing from Kelli and Brett Hurst. And Kelli and Brett are native Texans who've been married since 1987. They have 2 grown children and 3 grandchildren. Yay for grandkids. And they co-founded Home Encouragement in 2007 out of a passion for helping other married couples thrive. They are marriage educators who served countless couples and families in various capacities of home encouragement, while also having a long-standing career in church ministry. Brett is also the relationships pastor at Memorial Drive Presbyterian Church in Houston, where he's served since 1997. And one of their flagship programs is a date night event called Dinner and a Marriage, which they're here today to spotlight for us. And I'm excited for you guys to get to hear today from Kelli and Brett. So Kelli and Brett, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's a real privilege for us to be part of this event. We've already learned a lot from Nora and Dionna, so this is a real insight for us as well. Okay, so Dinner and Marriage it's a date night event. We started in 2008 here in Katy, which is a suburb of Houston, and the idea came to us when we were enjoying one of our date nights at our neighborhood Italian restaurant, Asta La Pasta. That's really the name of the restaurant. And we began to dream about hosting an intentional date night for couples that would take place on a regular basis. You know, the whole point of it was to take the stress out of getting something on the calendar, of having to find a reasonably priced restaurant, make reservations and all that. And then we thought, you know, if we added some intentional guided marriage enrichment led by a seasoned married couple, that would be a win. But, you know, we started wondering, well, would anybody be interested in such a thing? So we started to write down a dream list. And to be honest with you, we made a longer list of the things that we didn't want it to be. So we didn't want Dinner and Marriage to be too churchy. Now, we open and close in prayer. We talk very naturally, very organically about God. But we wanted people to feel very comfortable inviting coworkers or their neighbors, anybody that maybe didn't even have a faith affiliation of any kind yet. And, you know, we didn't want the content to be too heavy because this is a date night. We didn't want it to be like a marriage seminar, which we do those as well, but this is not that. We didn't want couples to have name tags because the point is not to socialize with other couples, even though that does take place. We want this to be a night intentionally designed for spouses to connect with one another. So that's what we didn't want. What we did want, we wanted it to be nominally priced. We wanted to have, if possible, what we'll call 2-top seating so that couples could focus on one another and not be interrupted in their intimate, private conversations. We wanted a restaurant with good food and a great date night atmosphere. And then we wanted to provide winsome marriage enrichment. So what we did was we approached the owner of our little neighborhood Italian restaurant and we shared our ideas with him. And I mean, he immediately said, oh, yeah, we can totally do that. And so he was behind us from the very get-go, and he still co-hosts of our Katy event 16 years later. It's been a real positive and relationship.
And so Dinner and a Marriage was born, and at first it was exclusively attended by friends and neighbors via personal invitations. But after a while, word of mouth began to be our best advertising, and it continues to be so to this day. So for many years, we would host 10 events a year. We did it monthly, with excluding the months of May and December. However, eventually we settled on 6 events a year, doing it every other month. We felt like that was a little bit easier to manage. After a few years of running the Katy location exclusively, we launched other locations led by other marriage champions. And those locations included many different locations around the greater Houston area, but also College Station, Austin, Brenham, San Antonio, and Illinois. The structure of the event is very simple, 7 to 8:30 p.m. The first 45 minutes are couples just enjoying dinner together with a few conversation starter questions on the screen. And then the last half of the event is led light marriage enrichment done by the host couple. The topics include everything from communication to conflict to romance and beyond. Some of the ingredients in what we call our secret sauce that really helps make dinner and a marriage successful is, one, couples have the rare experience of having uninterrupted conversation. I will admit that, frankly, this is something we underestimated the power of when we first started doing this. But for years, we have received positive feedback about what a gift this is for couples. They rarely have this. The second ingredient in the secret sauce is intentionality. How many times have you heard a couple say, we got into this huge fight on our date night? We've heard that, we've done that. But at dinner and a marriage, the conversation is guided by rich topics. On top of that, couples experience what we call positive peer pressure, in the sense that they're within a room with other couples who are also reconnecting and talking deeply. Something else in the secret sauce is couples get time to process. We learned pretty early on that the two of us standing up for 45 minutes talking continually is probably not the best thing. It's best to teach in small chunks and then turn the conversation over to the couples to let them process that information in real time. So couples will typically have 3 or 4 opportunities during the date night event to just talk about what they're learning and how they can apply it to their relationship. Plus, the drive home can include fun homework as well. And then finally, the last ingredient in the secret sauce is it's an entry into a deeper world. So while dinner and a marriage is by design not an overtly churchy event, the content is all rooted in biblical principles. We occasionally will include a scripture verse if we feel like it particularly illuminates the topic. And it's not a bait and switch, but instead the idea is that other couples can invite other couples, neighbors, co-workers, and so forth, maybe people who have no church affiliation, no marriage enrichment affiliation, and they can invite them into what is an easy entry-level event. And then when they become comfortable talking about relational principles, they might start listening to the podcast. They might attend our marriage retreat or even sign up for a marriage tune-up session. And all of those programs invite them into deeper conversations, not just about marriage, but about family, faith, and life. So we've had countless couples become tethered to our ongoing programs simply because they attended one dinner and a marriage date night event.
Yeah, it's been an unexpected phenomenon in that regard. So here are kind of our top frequently asked questions by people that might be inquiring to be in partnership with us. The first question is, what type of restaurant is best? And we'll say that scouting out restaurants or potential venues, that can be a really fun part of the research. Here's some things that we look for when we're looking at a potential new location. Wanting a restaurant that has an event room that is private from the main part of the restaurant, and an event room that can host a minimum of 10 couples, and preferably at 2 top tables. Again, so that the couples can have that privacy. We've discovered over time that the sweet spot is somewhere in the range of 12 to 16 couples, but we have locations with less, locations with more. Obviously, we want really good food. Otherwise, what's the point? And then a price point that doesn't price couples out of the event. You know, you want to keep in mind that couples have potentially other expenses like maybe babysitting costs on top of the price of dinner. So we want to keep costs as low as we possibly can. And then if the event is equipped with audiovisual equipment and screen, that is a big bonus, but not necessarily mandatory because those things can be brought in. And then finally, having a manager or an owner who gets the importance of the event like this. You know, when you're in partnership like we've been with Eric at our location for 16 years, I mean, it's just really been so advantageous to us and to the ministry.
We also get asked often if the venue has to be a restaurant. And no, it does not. Some of our locations use their church or maybe an auxiliary building that's connected to their church and then have the event catered. We've had a couple of locations utilize a local country club or even like an art house venue and just have it catered. As long as the event doesn't end up costing too much per couple, it's a win.
As far as advertising, how do you advertise? I mean, obviously, we want to use all those vehicles that you've been hearing about in the past hour. In fact, we stole some ideas and wrote some notes during those presentations, so thank you for that. But I will say that word of mouth is by far the #1 way that people find out about Dinner and Marriage and end up attending Dinner and Marriage from our research. So, and it's especially a good idea to have churches and even local businesses that are involved in promoting the event with you as well.
Another question we get is, does the host couple need to be professional public speakers? Absolutely not. As long as the host couple is engaging and passionate about marriage, they're in.
Yeah. And does the host couple, do they have to come up with the content? The answer is no. We have 10 complete themes that include a speaking presentation. They're very adaptable to the couple's own stories and their own situations, and PowerPoint presentations, handouts, film clips, all that's available on a shared drive.
We also get asked, you know, who handles the reservations and the payments? Our nonprofit organization, Home Encouragement, is set up to run the payments and the reservations through our site, which makes it abundantly easier on your end. And we can also pay the restaurant or the caterer through our organization. So you can host an event without ever handling money at all, which is a nice benefit.
And then we also provide some digital branding and presentation folders, if that's applicable, pins, those types of things. The host couple only needs to provide a few really basic supplies for the event, and anything that's purchased by the host team, those expenses will be reimbursed by Home Encouragement.
And then, of course, we always get asked, what if a couple would like to attend but can't afford it? Home Encouragement has scholarship funds available for those who cannot afford to attend. We never want finances to prevent a couple from experiencing a nice dinner and marriage date night.
And then does the host couple receive compensation? Yes, there's a nominal honorarium that's included in the budget for couples who lead dinner and marriage events. So that's basically it in a nutshell. You know, our goal is to once again have as many dinner and marriage locations going throughout the country as possible. So if this is an idea that might work with your community or your church community, we would love to have that conversation with you guys. And we're just blessed to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's been incredible for us. So thank you again.
Thanks for letting us talk about it.
Yes, well, that was great, Kelly and Brett. We thank you guys so much for taking the time today to share about dinner and a marriage. And this is such a great resource for CMIs to have in their toolkit. And so we just really do appreciate your time today. And that leads us into our Q&A session. And so if you have questions for any of our speakers today, or if there's anything at all that you would like to share, if you would just please raise your virtual hands and I'll call on you. And while you're raising your virtual hand, I do just want to make one quick announcement. And that is that our July training event, Maximizing Reach Through the Art of Newsletters, will be held on Friday, July 19th at noon Central. And this event is really going to have some practical easily applicable information and resources on the art of newsletters. So we want to make sure that you make plans to attend that. So do we have any questions in the room today for any of our speakers? All right, Shane.
I just really wanted to ask if Nora's slide deck was going to be available.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are great points, and I just want to make sure I had them. Thank you.
Yes, we will be sharing that with you in the follow-up email. Anyone else have any questions or just something they would like to share? No, it doesn't look like we have any more questions today. So I guess that will conclude our training event on supporting church-based marriage events. And I do want to let you know that I'll send out this link to all of you. And I will also be sending the Maryland team strategic timeline for event planning, as well as that church slide where you can customize it with your own QR code for your newsletter. So be on the lookout for that email to be in your inboxes next week. And remember, if you guys need anything at all, or if you have any feedback on today's event, you can contact me at sammy.soltmans@gmail.com. I really would love to hear from all of you. Well, CMI family, thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. And for those of you who are going to be attending the NARMI Summit, I'll see you really soon. So goodbye.